Good morning, everybody. This is Miss Xiao here. This morning, I will be doing a short sharing on factorization, um, looking at the grouping method. And this is covered in Secondary 1 and Secondary 2 mathematics. So students who have already been taught this method but would like to have a quick review, this would be a video for you. Let's move on. Now, looking at this example, we have 15a bracket 5y minus 1 minus bracket 5y minus 1. What we notice in here is that there is this term here that is 15a multiplied by another term that is grouped 5y minus 1, and we have minus 5y minus 1. Now, when we do factorization, we always want to bring out the terms that are similar. Okay, so if you notice, this is one chunk of terms. Subtract the second chunk of terms. What is similar in these two is 5y minus 1. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to factorize 5y minus 1 out. So we are going to bring this out. And after doing so, what is left of this first chunk, 15a times 5y minus 1, is actually 15a. Because we divide this whole portion here by 5y minus 1. 15a is left. Now, how about the second portion? We have minus 5y minus 1. If you were to factorize, or in other words, take out the chunk of terms 5y minus 1, what are we left with? We are left with the minus sign and nothing there. Now, when there is nothing after the minus sign, the number is always 1. That's 1 multiplied by anything will give you that something. For example, 1 times 5 will give you 5. Yeah? Okay, so this is how we factorize a question like that. Moving on, we have 2x multiplied by a minus 2b plus 3y multiplied by 2b minus a. Now, you realize that, again, there are two sections that make up the expression, separated by an addition sign. And out of each section, you realize that the terms a minus 2b and 2b minus a look quite similar. However, the difference is with regards to the sign that comes with a and 2b. They are somehow reversed. So how can we make the terms inside those a minus 2b inside the bracket become the same? So let's say if we want to make this term become minus 2b and this term become positive a, what we do is basically to factorize out negative 1 from each of these terms. Okay, so what do I mean by that? I have 3y. Okay, I'm going to take out minus 1 from each of the terms in 2b minus a. So to factorize minus 1 out of 2b, I take 2b divided by minus 1. What I will have is negative 2b. And for the second term, minus a, if I were to factorize out minus 1, means I have to take minus a divided by minus 1, and I will have plus a. Now, in doing so, you realize one thing, that the terms within the brackets are now the same. Yeah? Okay, so if I were to do a little rearrangement of the terms, it will look something like that. A minus 2b plus 3y minus 1, a minus 2b. See that? Okay, and from here, how do we move on? Now, you have already learned about simple algebra. So, introduction to algebra, you know that you could combine these two terms by taking 3y multiplied by minus 1. So, we will end up with this. Plus times minus, we will end up with a minus 3y bracket a minus 2b. Okay, looks like we are set for another round of factorization. We realize that we have a minus 2b and a minus 2b that are similar in both parts of the expression. We will factorize it out. So we have a minus 2b taken out. And once I take a minus 2b out of the first part of the expression, I am left with 2x. And for the second part of the expression, after taking out a minus 2b, I will have 3y. Do a last round of check and see, look at the terms inside each bracket. Can we further factorize out any other terms? We realize that we cannot, and so this is the answer. Let's take a look at a third example. Now, you realize that this example is different from the previous one because this one does not have brackets. So you will have to create your brackets based on grouping. So how do you group two terms together and another two terms together, and which two terms to group? Now, one way to decide with regards to the terms to group together is to look at the coefficient of each term. Okay. Now, when you group them together, both groups need to have the same ratio in terms of the sequence of the coefficients. Like for example, if let's say I want to group 3x and 6 together to one group, the ratio of my coefficient is 3 to 6. Okay, and that reduces to 1 to 2. And if I want to group plus xy and plus 2y together, my coefficient will be 1 to 2. Okay, so now that I note that for my first group, coefficient is 1 to 2, second group coefficient is also 1 to 2, it makes sense to group 3x plus 6 into one group, and then followed by xy plus 2y into a second group. Okay, so what I'm going to do next will be this. I'm going to put a bracket in already and separate 3x plus 6 from xy plus 2y. Okay? And from here, in each bracket, I'm going to factorize out terms from similar terms from the two separate terms in each bracket. So we have 3x plus 6. Over here, we know that there is a common factor of 3, which we can factorize out, and we will be left with x plus 2. Similarly, for the second bracket, we could factorize out y, and we are left with x plus 2. Okay, and from here, you can tell quite obviously that in each part of the expression, x plus 2 is actually a common factor, which we could factorize out. So we have x plus 2 taken out, and what we are left with will be 3 plus y in the other bracket. So that's how we factorize using grouping. Last example, we have xy plus 2ax squared minus 3y minus 6ax. So let's see. Let's take a look at the ratio between the coefficients first to see how we're going to group them together. Don't be afraid of the square. Okay, as we work this out, somehow or rather, it will resolve itself. So let's say if we were to group this, what's the ratio between our coefficients? We'll have 1 to 2, and the next one will be minus 3 to minus 6. And if we simplify it, it's 1 to 2 as well. So it looks like we could group it this way. Yeah, so let's see. Let's put a bracket around them. You realize that I separate the two groups by putting an addition sign. Now, why I'm doing this is because addition, when you add one, when you have two groups of expressions and you want to put them side by side together, using addition sign is a more generic form of bringing them together compared to a negative sign. If you use a subtraction sign, we have to take into account things like using a subtraction multiplied by another subtraction term, and then that will result in change of sign in the eventual answer. So I want to leave all these confusing things out. So generically, I put two terms, two parts of the expression side by side with each other using a positive sign. Okay, now, so for each part of the expression, let's see what factors we have in common that we can factorize out. So you realize that for the first one, we do have x that we can factorize out, and we'll be left with y plus 2ax. Okay. And for the next portion, we realize that both terms are negative. We can take negative 1 out. And not just that, coefficients 3 and 6 means that we have a common factor of 3 that we can take out as well. Okay, after taking these two out, we have left with y plus 2ax. Okay, so I'm going to tidy up this portion. So with a plus and a minus here, when both are put side by side, plus times minus will give you a minus. So we end up with minus 3 bracket y plus 2ax. Here at this point, we can factorize out y plus 2ax from both parts of the expression, and we're left with x minus 3 in the other part of the expression. So this is the answer. I hope you have found these examples helpful. And if there are any questions, you can come back to me. My email is at email miss.xiao@gmail.com. Okay, so if you have any questions that you would like to clarify with regards to factorization, please don't hesitate to mail me and I'll get back to you. Or you could drop your comments in the comment section if you would like me to clarify with regards to this again or another concept. Thank you.